Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and we're back with another real estate investing video. Today, we're going to talk about turnkey and long distance investing in rental properties. So I own a turnkey rental property in Cleveland, and it's probably my worst investment I've ever made in my entire life. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about turnkeys and other ways to invest in properties that are not in your market. Because I know a lot of people are in California, New York, Seattle, even Colorado now, where prices are so high, it's really hard to buy a rental property that cash flows. So one option is to invest in another market. So I'm going to talk about that, talk about why I bought a turnkey, talk about how I almost bought properties in Florida, but then ended up buying commercial real estate local to me. And then I'll talk about what you can do if you're interested in buying long distance properties, but maybe don't want to go the turnkey route, which can be very, very risky. All right, now before we get started, of course, check out investformore.com. Have a ton more information on rentals, flipping, wholesaling, being an agent, all kinds of great stuff. And we've got 8 books on Amazon if you're interested in any of those subjects. And of course, we appreciate it if you hit the like button and like our videos, because that helps us out. And the comments are always welcome. I try to respond to you as much as I can, and welcome to any new subscribers as well. All right, turnkey long distance rental properties. What are turnkey properties? We will start with that first. A turnkey property is a property that was bought by an investment company. Usually it's pretty run down. They'll go in, they'll fix it up, they'll put renters in there, so it should already be rented. At least this is the definition I see from a lot of companies. It's already repaired, so you shouldn't have to come in, and do a lot of work. It's rented, repaired, and it's managed. What does that mean? It should have property managers in place taking care of the renters, expenses, all of that stuff. So the theory behind a turnkey rental property is you can buy this property, it's already rented, already repaired, already managed. You don't have to do any work at all. You just buy it and collect your checks. And there's a lot of turnkey rental properties out there. There's a lot of okay ones, there's a few decent ones, and there's a lot of really, really bad ones. So I did a video on Morris Invest. Clayton Morris used to be a Fox News host and then turned into a real estate investor. And it's hard to say, but hundreds to thousands of investors lost tens of thousands of dollars because of their turnkey model. What they did is they bought really bad, dilapidated properties, said they were rented, said they were repaired, and said they were managed, when in fact, they weren't rented. They would send people rent for a few months, saying they're rented. They weren't repaired. They did not spend any money fixing them up. A lot of these houses were vacant. A couple were burned down, and they said they were rented. And they were managed, but not very well, since obviously there was no actual rent coming in and no repairs done. And so after 6 months or so, people would stop getting rent. They'd start asking questions and find out the properties were completely dilapidated, uninhabitable, or maybe there were renters in there who were paying half of what they're supposed to be paying, and people had properties that they paid $50,000 to $60,000 for that were worth $20,000 to $30,000. So that kind of outlines one of the things that can happen badly with turnkey rentals. And why is this industry ripe for fraud and misrepresentation? Well, if you're buying a turnkey rental, most likely you're out of the area. You might live hundreds or thousands of miles away. There's a really good chance you're going to never come see that property or even visit that area. So the turnkey companies know, hey, maybe we can pull one over on these people. It's a great way to make extra money, because they'll never know what's happening until we've already got our money and can skip out of town. So unfortunately, this scam fraud does happen with turnkey rentals. And I have a whole video that goes over what happened with Morris Invest and Clayton Morris. It is crazy. So I have no doubt in my mind, 100%, he knew what was going on, and he profited millions of dollars from people who he knew he was scamming. So You can watch the video if you want to see all the proof and stuff I put together. But anyway, there are some good turnkey companies as well. So even if you do your research, you find a good turnkey company, I am not a fan of turnkey rentals. And why is that? Because you're usually paying full retail or higher for the price. So if I'm an investor, I flip houses, I have rentals. When I flip houses, I sell houses on the MLS. I sell them to owner-occupants, sometimes investors. It's a pretty simple process. But turnkey companies don't fix up and sell properties. They get them rented and sell them to out-of-state investors. So why do they do that? Well, because sometimes they can charge more than they're worth. They're dealing in low-priced properties, sometimes below $50,000, where they know the investors have cash. So they don't have to worry about an appraisal coming in low because they're paying cash. So they can bump up the price of these homes, and people are actually paying more than they're worth. The other big thing is when they're selling these to investors and marketing, there's no real estate agents, right? So there's no real estate agent commission that the turnkey company has to pay. So they might be saving, all real estate agent commissions are negotiable. You can tell I'm also an agent. They're saving from 3 to 7% or something, depending on if they're agents or we're going to list them. They're saving a lot of money by not using real estate agents. Now, when they don't use real estate agents, the buyer also loses protection in the form of inspections, appraisals, loan conditions, the real estate agent's knowledge. So this again gives the advantage to the turnkey company. If they want to pull a fast one on people, it's easier to do. Now, the other thing that you can also find with turnkey companies is, it's not deceitful, but too positive. We'll say that. So when you see a lot of these turnkey properties advertised, they'll say, hey, this property rents for $1,200 a month. You can buy it for $60,000. You're going to be making, there's $120 a month in property management. There's $100 in taxes, $50 insurance. You add all that up, you're making like $750 a month. Now, I didn't add those up. It's probably wrong. But relatively speaking, you're making $750 a month off your $60,000 investment. The problem is they're forgetting vacancies. They're forgetting maintenance. They're forgetting some of the other costs that will come along with rentals. They're making them seem much better than they actually are. So now, not all turnkey companies do this. There are some that will list all these costs, and that's one good sign if you're looking at turnkey properties. Do they list all the costs? They're not being overly optimistic and trying to sell you on something that won't be as good of an investment as you think it will be. Now, so we've got full retail, no real estate agent, too positive, no inspection. So there is no law that says you can't get an inspection on turnkey properties, but a lot of turnkey providers are hoping you don't. So again, you're out of state, you're looking at pictures, you're looking at videos, but they're not showing you inside the walls or the plumbing, the electric. Maybe they're not showing you the roof. And if you're not using an agent, you're relying solely on this turnkey provider, a lot of people won't get an inspection, a lot of people won't see the house. They're taking the company's word for it. You can still get an inspection on a turnkey company, and if they won't let you, run away. That is a horrible sign, because an inspection will catch a lot of the problems that come from fraud, from properties not being repaired, supposedly properties that are rented that aren't rented. An inspection will catch a lot of those issues. So, the big thing, you're paying full retail value for this property. When I buy my rentals, my flips, I want a deal on every single property I buy. I don't want to pay full retail, even if it's cash flowing. So that's the number one thing for me. And obviously the inspection is something that should be done at any house, especially if you can't see it. So, what happened with my turnkey property? We'll talk about this. I bought mine in 2015, yes. I bought it in Cleveland for $45,000. Cash, I bought it in my IRA. You can buy real estate in an IRA if you have a self-directed IRA with the right company. And it was supposed to rent for, I think it was like $900, they told me, in that range. Now, full disclosure, I still do, and I used to refer people to turnkey rental properties. If I referred someone to them, they bought a house to them, I would get a referral fee. I'm an agent, I can take referral fees. I used to refer people to this company and I stopped, partially because of my experience and partially because people told me about other bad experiences they had with them. In fact, there's only really one company I refer people to now, and I can refer you to them too if you want to email me, mark@invest4more.com. But I used to refer them to more people. And the reason I stopped is because things weren't always as they said they were. This particular property was supposed to be rehabbed, rented, ready to go. I bought it. I did not get an inspection, which was dumb. I should have known better. But this was someone I personally knew who sold me the property, who I trusted. And what happened was, when I got it, we weren't receiving rents right away. And all of a sudden, rents stopped coming in. It turns out it wasn't repaired and rehabbed. We had bought the property that was already rented and not repaired. And the tenant had been behind on rent. They're habitually behind on rent, and eventually we had to evict them. So we had to evict them 4 or 5 months after buying it, and then it finds out, well, the place needs carpet, paint, some other work. Now, to the turnkey company's credit, they paid most of that expense to repair the property. But they also misrepresented it because they told me it was already repaired when I bought it. And I don't know if they gave me special treatment either because I knew them, because I was referring people to them, and because I talked about them. So it could be if I was just some other random person from California who they didn't know, they would have left me high and dry. I don't know that for sure. That's just something that could have happened and something you need to be careful with. So I bought this house for $45,000. Had to wait 6 to 8 months before we received any real rent. And when it actually was rented, I think we got $795. So not horrible. It's not a horrible investment. It's been making money. But it wasn't at all what it was cracked up to be. For one thing, I had to wait 8 months to collect rent, so that's $6,400 or so I was out. And then I did have to pay some of the repairs, not all of them, but there were a few repairs I had to pay for. And then there's a lot of vacancies after that as well. And the big kicker is I paid $45,000, and I have inquired to a few people about what it's worth now. And I've talked to a few people in Cleveland, and they've told me that they probably would never go in that neighborhood even if they're paid a few $1,000s. So that gives you an idea of what they had said about the property, but I think, it's probably worth $30,000 to $35,000 now. So I paid $45,000, and after 5 years, it's worth $35,000, we'll say. So not an amazing investment appreciation-wise. Cash flow-wise, it's been okay, but not great. And it just hasn't worked out at all how I thought it would. And to be honest, buying that property, I was not expecting it to be an amazing investment. It's almost an experiment for my blog to see how it worked, to see how it did. But I thought it would be better than it has been. Now, as opposed to some of my other rental properties I bought, I would pay like $100,000 for them. And as soon as I bought them, I'd put say $15,000 of work into them, and they'd be worth $150,000. That's without any appreciation. So that's why I like the other model of buying rental properties, because I've got $35,000 of equity built into that instead of minus equity built into it. And then, these properties now in Colorado we have gotten crazy lucky with appreciation are worth $300,000 now, 5 years later. So you can see losing $15,000 versus making like $200,000 is more appealing to me. And also, this rented for $1,200. Now it rents for $1,800. So we're making much more money. Not $18,000, not $12,000. There we go. Not that you can read that anyway. But this is the model of rental property I like so much more than the turnkey model. And the other thing to think about and worry about with turnkeys is you're buying low value properties at some point. In most cases, under 100,000, under 50,000. A lot of times those are harder to rent. You have more maintenance, you have more turnover, and harder to finance too. If you ever want to finance them and get a loan, banks don't want a loan on a property that's less than $50,000. It's just really hard to do. So what alternative do you have if you want to invest out of state? I said I can refer you to a turnkey company if you want. My honest opinion is don't do it. So I know it doesn't help you out. What can you do? Real estate agents. So you don't need a turnkey company to buy properties out of your area. In 2016, when prices got super high here and I stopped buying residential properties, I looked all over the country, found some cool places in Florida where I wanted to invest, and I was not using a turnkey company. I was going to use local people to help me out. The plan was find a really good agent. I talked to a few. Some knew what they were doing, some did not, but I interviewed a few. I found a good agent who could help me out. Property management. I had to find a good property manager. Guess what? They're the same person. The agent also was a property manager, so that was fantastic too. Then I had to find a good lender. So I started talking to lenders, different people about getting financing for it, and I started to really get things rolling. So what happened? Why did I not buy in Florida? I discovered commercial real estate in Colorado. I found out I could buy cheap properties, they could cash flow, and they've been better than residential properties. So that's why I didn't do it. But that plan was solid. I think I would have been just fine. They had good rent to value ratios. Those prices have still been going up, so I would have made good investments there. I just didn't end up pulling the trigger. So if you want to invest in out-of-state properties, one, I would try and find a market you might be somewhat familiar with. See a few friends and family who can maybe talk to you a little bit about the markets, neighborhoods, and then find good professionals there who can help you. Real estate agents, property management, lenders, and one good real estate agent can help you find all of those people too, right? You don't always have to find all of those on your own. If you can find one good person, one good property manager, one good real estate agent, even one good lender, sometimes they can connect all the right people to help you make a good investment. So I can also help on this side a little bit too. If you're interested, I actually have my Blueprint coaching group where we do monthly calls and I do email coaching and different things. You can also email me about that if you're interested. But I'm not promoting that right here. What I'm saying is a couple people in that group are agents in markets that have really good rental property ratios. So there's some Michigan, Milwaukee. I'm not even going to try to spell Milwaukee. I know that it starts with M-I-L. Florida. And I'm working on maybe expanding to a few other markets. But if you want, I can refer you to agents in those areas who do property management or know good property managers. They know how to get good deals, right? The real estate agent makes their money because they sell you the house and they earn a commission, right? They're not trying to make the spread between what they bought the house and what they sold it for. So they can focus on getting you good deals, where the turnkey company is more focused on selling you the property for the most money they can. The real estate agent can also refer you to property managers because they know the area. It's not a big deal to them. They can possibly refer you to contractors. They can refer you to lenders, inspectors, all of that good stuff a good investor will need. Now, I still suggest you do your due diligence. You check out these agents. You use someone who you really feel comfortable with. I can give you a head start, but I can't guarantee any of their results or that they're going to be perfect all the time, just like I'm not perfect all the time either. Or if you want to invest in a different market that I don't have contacts in, go for it. Do it, but take your time. I highly suggest visiting the area, seeing some of the properties, and get an inspection for sure. And finally, one thing you can do that not a lot of people know about is if you're going to use a turnkey, if you're going to use an agent, if you're buying a property out of state and you want to know what it's worth, you can get a third-party value from two sources. One, an appraiser. I don't trust than appraiser value, not because appraisers are bad, but because they're usually valuing to confirm value for banks, and they don't always come in as accurate as they could be. They also can cost $400 to $1,000. What else can you do? You can get a BPO done. A BPO is a broker price opinion. I've done thousands of these when I was selling foreclosures for banks. It's an agent who goes to a property, takes pictures, does a report, pulls comps, tells you what they think the house is worth now, and you can even ask them to tell you what you think the house is worth later when it's fixed up. You can get these for $50 to $100 usually. You can find them on places like REO Network. Just search for BPO agents, and you can find agents who will go do a value for you. You can get 2 of them and compare them, and that will help you confirm the value of the turnkey or the value of the property your agent suggested you buy, or if you already have an out-of-state property, they can come give you an idea of what it's worth as well. In fact, I should probably do that on my property in Cleveland, but I haven't done it yet. Okay, so that is all I've got for this video. If you're thinking of buying out-of-state, long-distance rental properties, be very careful. Don't take everyone's word for it. Do your due diligence, get inspections, and if you can, figure out a way to get a good deal. Don't just buy the easiest route out there. And I also have another video I did a few years ago, but it's still a really good video on buying out of state and what to look for in different markets, and I'll link to that below as well. That is like an hour-long webinar with tons of information. So check that out. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. Please hit the like button. We love that. We love seeing new subscribers. Thank you for watching. We'll have many more videos on advice like this, plus our flips, our rentals, all of our investments. So stay tuned.